guys, it's Gamer Ahmer here. So just a couple weeks ago, Sega announced that they are going to be releasing a plug-and-play Sega Genesis Mini, and they also announced that they would release 40 games on this plug-and-play system. So with only 10 of those games announced, Sega has been leaving us hanging. So finally, we got an answer, and there are 10 more games announced for this Sega Genesis Mini. So today we're going to go ahead and recap information about this Sega Genesis Mini and 10 more games that have been revealed. So let's go ahead and check it out. This Sega Genesis Mini plug-and-play console will actually be released on September 19th, 2019, so go ahead and stay tuned for that. It will also include a mini system, which is a miniature replica of the Genesis Model 1 version. So not actually this one right here that I have in my collection. It's going to be modeled after the first model. And of course, this will actually come packaged with 2 controllers, and those are the classic and original 3-button controllers for the Sega Genesis. It will also include 40 games on this and a price tag of around $80. You can't beat that for the amount of games that are actually going to be on this system, have the HDMI capabilities, all the cords and everything that you'll need to just go ahead and hook it up to your modern day television. So of course, when this Sega Genesis Mini was announced, they announced 10 games with this system. So a lot of people got pretty excited with the first 10 games that have been revealed. So out of the first 10 games that have been revealed, we'll go ahead and recap those. We have Echo the Dolphin, which a lot of people know and remember playing as that dolphin in that epic adventure game. And then of course we have Castlevania Bloodlines, which is the only Castlevania game that was released on the Sega Genesis, and it's one of the more fun Castlevania games in the series. Space Harrier 2, which is a pretty sweet and fun game. Shining Force, and of course Toe Jam and Earl, which is a pretty wacky game that has 2 aliens as the characters. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is a pretty wacky puzzle game. Comic Zone, which is actually a pretty neat and interesting game as it kind of takes on that comic book feel. Altered Beast, which is a pretty fun beat 'em up game. Sonic the Hedgehog, which of course we had to have on the Sega Genesis Mini. And another great game, Gunstar Heroes, which is actually a pretty expensive game if you tried to actually buy it on the Sega Genesis. So these 10 games that have been originally revealed have gotten such a great response that a lot of people are actually interested in this Sega Genesis Mini. As for these great games on this system, everyone wants to know what is coming next. So let's go ahead and check out the new lineup. So now we have 10 more games that have been revealed, and some of these I'm just so shocked that they're even on the Sega Genesis Mini, as all of the rights and everything that they had to get permission to actually include these on their console. So this is just a spectacular list, and I can't wait to see what's next. So moving on to the next 10, we have another freebie for the system. We actually have Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which I actually played that game a lot more than the first Sonic the Hedgehog growing up. So that one really has a special place in my heart, as I played it a lot growing up on the system. I spent countless hours playing as Sonic, and it was just a lot of fun. So this is a perfect game to include on this Sega Genesis Mini. And then of course another great game that I enjoyed playing. I spent countless hours playing this game. It's the beat 'em up Streets of Rage 2. So of course I'm super excited to see this released on the Sega Genesis Mini. I actually just picked up a copy of it the other day, and it's the not for resale version. So this game is definitely a lot of fun. It's a great beat 'em up, and it's actually my favorite in the series. So that is definitely awesome to add to the Sega Genesis Mini. And then two games that actually shocked me, which are, in my opinion, some great hidden gem games that a lot of people may have actually not played growing up. We have two Mickey Mouse games. We have Castle of Illusion and World of Illusion. Now, to have these two great Disney games on the Sega Genesis is simply amazing, just because of Disney actually owning these rights to these games. So this is definitely a step in the right direction for the Sega Genesis Mini console, and who knows, maybe we'll see Aladdin or the classic Lion King on this system. I remember playing those games a lot growing up, and I'm actually starting to go ahead and replay a lot more of these games on the Sega Genesis. So this mini console will definitely help me with some of the games that I haven't played or I actually don't own in my collection. And then of course, moving on to a pretty sweet shoot 'em up game, we have Thunder Force 3. Now if you guys haven't played that game, this is definitely a great opportunity to go ahead and play it, and it's a pretty fast-paced shoot 'em up game, so it's a great chance to actually play this game. And then of course we have Shinobi 3, which is a pretty fun action game where you run around as a ninja equipped with a sword. So this one is actually one of my favorites in the series, so I'm really looking forward to this game. And then another interesting game, we have Super Fantasy Zone, which will be a lot of fun. And then of course, another great game that a lot of people actually enjoy once they play it, we have Landstalker. Now this game is an action-adventure game, and it reminds a lot of people of The Legend of Zelda because you have this elf character. So this is definitely a pretty sweet addition to the diverse games included on this Sega Genesis Mini. And then next we have Earthworm Jim, which is a really fun game, and the graphics on this game are actually pretty sweet. Kind of has that hand-drawn effect to it, and it's a lot different than a lot of the other games. So this one is definitely a fun game, and I remember playing this game growing up, and I love the Earthworm Jim games. And then of course the last game that was revealed so far, we have Contra Hardcore. Now this game is a very difficult game. It's one of the more challenging games in the Contra series. So this game will be a lot of fun to play, and hopefully I'll finally be able to actually beat this game, as I can just continuously play this game over and over again. And it's one of those more expensive games on the Sega Genesis, so adding it to this mini plug-and-play console is definitely a great idea to go ahead and expand and actually have more people interested in purchasing one of these mini consoles due to the great lineup of games. Now of course the games that I just revealed are actually those for the North American regions, so of course the Japanese region will get a few different games than what was already listed. So we'll go ahead and talk about those 10 games briefly. So of course they will get Super Fantasy Zone, Thunder Force 3, Musha, which is a really awesome game. It's one of those great shoot 'em up games, and it's actually a very expensive title for the Sega Genesis. It's over $400, so that is definitely worth buying right there, as the Sega Genesis Mini in the Japanese region will be much cheaper than $400. I actually have a complete and authentic copy in my collection already, so that game is definitely pretty sweet to have it on the Japanese region. And then of course they will have a Disney title, World of Illusion, Streets of Rage 2, Landstalker, Contra Hardcore, and then of course some Japanese exclusives that we never actually got in the North American region. So those three will be the Hybrid Front, Dyna Brothers 2, Game no Kenzume, Ote Kumyu, and of course those three games, not exactly sure how those ones play, so I might be interested in getting a Japanese version of this Genesis Mini console, just to go ahead and try out these games and see what they're all about. So of course, stay tuned as I will continue to update as soon as we figure out some more of the Sega Genesis mini games that will be revealed for this system, as it's set to release on September 19th, 2019. So make sure you guys stay tuned, as we still have 20 games that are left to be revealed for this system, and so far these 20 out of 40 games are pretty awesome games for this system. Now I would love to see some racing games, possibly even Road Rash for the Sega Genesis. One of those in the series would be a pretty fun game. Of course, there are tons of other classics like Golden Axe, Eternal Champions, and just so many other fun games for the Sega Genesis, especially some of the exclusives or something sports related, to go ahead and switch up the diverse game collection that's included on the Sega Genesis Mini. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go ahead and check out my other videos and stay tuned for more.